Direct News TV. July 23, 2023. Russia-Ukraine war updates. Moscow denies striking Odesa cathedral. Russian attack damages 25 historical buildings in Odesa, report. According to the president's office, a Russian missile attack has damaged 25 historical buildings in Odesa, the Kyiv Independent has reported. Blinken says Ukraine has taken back 50% of territory that Russia seized. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says Ukraine has taken back about 50% of the territory that Russia seized, although Kyiv's counteroffensive will extend several months. It's already taken back about 50% of what was initially seized, Blinken said in an interview with CNN. These are still relatively early days of the counteroffensive. It is tough, he said, adding, it will not play out over the next week or two. We're still looking, I think, at several months. Russia is the only threat to Ukraine's orthodoxy, Ukrainian FM. The Ukrainian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dmytro Kuleba, tweeted that the destruction of Odesa's Transfiguration Cathedral was just the latest move by Russia to systematically destroy the Orthodox Church in Ukraine. Russia destroyed humanitarian HQ with cluster munitions, Donetsk governor. On Sunday morning, the Russian army shelled Chasiv Yar, a city just west of the battle-ridden Bakhmut in the Donetsk region, with cluster munitions, according to Suspline, the national public broadcaster in Ukraine. Due to the shelling, a fire destroyed the Palace of Culture, which was used as the city's humanitarian headquarters and a place for providing medical aid. Suspline quoted Pavlo Kirilenko, the governor of the Donetsk region, as saying, "There were no injuries or deaths reported. Forgive them, Lord, because we will not." Ukrainian MOD. The Ukrainian Ministry of Defense, MOD, tweeted that Russia attacked the Odesa region with 19 missiles of various types overnight. They claim Ukrainian air defense forces shot down 4 Kalibr and 5 Iskander-K missiles. They also posted pictures of the Odesa Transfiguration Cathedral, which they say was hit with a missile. In a series of tweets, the MOD labeled the Russian forces terrorists and, referencing the damage to the cathedral, wrote, "Forgive them, Lord, because we will not." Putin and Lukashenko greet crowd together in Kronstadt town. Putin and Lukashenko greeted a crowd of people in Russia's port town of Kronstadt on Kotlin Island located just west of St. Petersburg. The walkabout comes just 1 month after the Wagner Group mutiny, which ended in a deal brokered by Lukashenko. Russia's Kommersant newspaper posted a video of Putin and Lukashenko posing for photographs with people as bodyguards stood nearby. Asked about the COVID-19 quarantine rules which the Russian leader has been keeping up with since the pandemic, Putin replied, "People are more important than quarantine." Moscow denies striking Odesa Cathedral, blames Ukraine. Russia has denied it attacked the Transfiguration Cathedral in Odesa, blaming Ukraine for the damage. The Russian Defense Ministry said Ukraine's statement that a high-precision weapon damaged the cathedral does not correspond to reality. Russia said it targeted facilities at a safe distance from the Transfiguration Cathedral. Another statement said Russian strikes are planned to exclude civilian facilities, as well as cultural and historical heritage sites. The ministry blamed the damage on incompetent actions of the operators of air defense systems, which the AFU, Armed Forces of Ukraine, deliberately places in residential areas, including Odesa. Wagner forces are asking to go west, Lukashenko tells Putin. Lukashenko says he is keeping Russian Wagner mercenaries in central Belarus and that Minsk is controlling the situation with the group's fighters on its territory. They are asking to go west, ask me for permission, to go on a trip to Warsaw, to Rzeszów, Lukashenko told Putin, who smiled. But of course, I am keeping them in central Belarus, like we agreed. We are controlling what is happening with Wagner, he said, adding, they are in a bad mood. Wagner Group's footprint in Belarus is likely expanding, ISW. The Institute for the Study of War has stated that the Wagner Group's footprint in Belarus is likely expanding. Ukraine's National Resistance Center reported on July 22 that approximately 50 Wagner personnel are in Sosnovyj, Belarus. The center also reported that a field camp for approximately 300 Wagner personnel appeared at the Domanovo training ground in Ivetsevitsky Rayon, Brest Oblast, and that up to 30 Wagner instructors are training Belarusian forces across Belarus. Toll in Odesa strike rises to 2 killed, 22 wounded. The death toll from overnight strikes on the port of Odesa has risen to 2, with 22 people wounded, including 4 children. A man born in 1974 was killed in the nighttime shelling, Igor Klemenko, Ukraine's Minister of Internal Affairs, said on Telegram, bringing the toll to 2. 22 people were injured. Among them are 4 children, 11, 12, and 2 17-year-olds. Zelensky warns of a retaliation for attacks on Odesa. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky wrote in a tweet that there would be a retaliation to Russian terrorists following the overnight missile strikes on Odesa. Putin claims Ukrainian counteroffensive failed, Russian news agencies. Vladimir Putin told his Belarus counterpart Alexander Lukashenko that an ongoing Ukrainian counteroffensive to push back Russian forces from Ukraine has failed, according to Russian news agencies. There is no counteroffensive, Lukashenko said, according to the TASS news agency, before being interrupted by Putin, who said that there is one, but it has failed. Lukashenko is currently on a working visit to Russia. Russia claims foreign mercenaries were at targeted Odesa sites. Russia's defense ministry claimed that the strikes on Odesa targeted sites where terrorist acts against the Russian Federation were being prepared. The ministry said in a statement that the attacks were carried out with sea and air-based long-range high-precision weapons and that foreign mercenaries were at the targeted sites. Igor Girkin arrest likely to infuriate other military bloggers, UK intelligence. The British Ministry of Defence claims that the arrest of Igor Girkin, a former Russian intelligence officer and leading nationalist military blogger, will have likely infuriated elements within the military and blogging community. Moscow labels death of journalist heinous, premeditated crime. The Kremlin labeled the death of Rostislav Zhuravlev, a Russian journalist killed near the front line in Ukraine's southeastern Zaporizhia region, a heinous, premeditated crime committed by Western powers in Kiev. Russia's defense ministry accused Kiev of using cluster munitions supplied by the United States this month in the attack. Rostislav Zhuravlev, a war correspondent for Russia's RIA Novosti news agency, was killed and 3 other Russian journalists were wounded in a Ukrainian artillery attack on Saturday, the Russian Defense Ministry said, adding they were evacuated from the battlefield, but Zhuravlev died during the journey. Lukashenko set to meet Putin in St. Petersburg. Putin and his Belarusian counterpart Lukashenko will meet on Sunday, the Kremlin said, 2 days after Moscow warned that any aggression against its neighbor and staunchest ally would be considered an attack on Russia. After Poland decided earlier this week to move military units closer to its border with Belarus in response to the arrival in Belarus of forces from Russia's Wagner Group, Putin said Moscow would use all means it has to react to any hostility towards Minsk. The Kremlin said Lukashenko is paying a working visit to Russia and will talk to Putin about further development of the country's strategic partnership. 1 dead in Russian missile attack on Odesa. A Russian missile attack on Ukraine's Odesa city early on Sunday killed 1, injured nearly 20 and badly damaged a Russian-linked Orthodox cathedral, with officials saying they retrieved the icon of the patroness of the port city from under the rubble. Ola Kuiper, governor of southern Ukraine's Odesa region, said on the Telegram messaging app that 4 children were injured in the attacks that also destroyed 6 houses and apartment buildings. 14 people were hospitalized, he said. Russia has been pounding Odesa and other Ukrainian food export facilities almost daily over the past week after it withdrew from a UN-brokered sea corridor agreement that allowed for the safe shipment of Ukrainian grain. My name is Kingsley. Please like, share, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be the first to be notified whenever we post. You won't regret it.